Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how I grew my first batch of microgreens. I'll cover everything from picking the seeds to harvesting, so whether you're a beginner like me, or curious about growing your own food, or just need some inspiration, stick around. First things first, we need seeds. I decided to start with radish seeds. I saw a lot of YouTube videos recommending to start with radish seeds because they're the easiest to grow. I got a pound of these seeds off Amazon. They're from Rainbow Heirloom. I also bought these trays, a grow light, and a smart plug to turn on and off the light. Before we start, my plan for this series is to test what growing conditions can be modified to get the most amount of greens for the least amount of cost. Now it's time to prep the trays. I got these nice 10 by 20 inch containers. I'm going to start with 2 cups of water on the bottom. Oh, wow. Sorry, I opened it from the bottom. Then for today's experiment, I'm testing how the amount of soil affects the bounty. So I put 12 cups in one tray and 16 cups in the other tray. Spread the soil around, breaking up all the clumps, and then level it out, but you don't want to press too hard, or it might be hard for the roots to grow. You don't want the soil to be too dense. I'm using these deeper trays, but you can get shallower ones. I think it might be easier to harvest them if I had shallower trays. Rainbow's instructions on their site recommends for this size tray to measure out 3.5 tablespoons. I didn't like this idea because how do you measure out half a tablespoon? I also want these 2 batches to be almost identical, and I didn't think measuring out half a tablespoon with 1 tablespoon would give me the precision I was looking for, so I decided to use my scale instead. I found that 3.5 tablespoons is about 40 grams, so that's what I was measuring out for each tray. I sprinkled the seeds across the surface, making sure to hit the sides and the corners. You also want to get a spray bottle for watering. I sprayed the seeds so the soil gets damp but not soaked. If you add too much water, mold can grow. All right, that looks pretty moist. Now for the final thing, these seeds aren't supposed to get light yet, and to mimic growing under the ground, you're supposed to put something on top. I also put a light weight on top of the tray. In this case, I used a candle and it led to some mistakes. It is what it is. I repeated this process of checking, spraying, and covering for 4 days till the sprouts push the tray up, like this. Here's how the second tray changed from the first day to the 4th. While this was happening, I mounted the grow light to the bottom of my desk. For growing, I saw you should cycle the light on for 12 hours and then off for 12. So that's what I did. You can turn on and off the light yourself, but I end up getting these Govee smart plugs. They have an app that you can use to set timers, so that's what I used. After the first day of being under the light, you may want to brush the seed husks off the greens. I also sprayed them with water once a day. You can do this twice daily, especially if the soil is looking dry. At this time, try and spray closer to the soil because you want to get the soil damp, not necessarily the top of the leaves. Mold doesn't just grow if the greens are getting too wet. It can also grow if you don't have enough air ventilation. Some people use fans, but I'm not too worried. I'll worry if I end up getting mold, and I'll get some fans. Here you can see this tray on the right is scraggly compared to the one on the left. This could mean my test was a success because the tray on the left had more soil and it appears to be doing better. I'm not saying that though. I'm saying this test was a failure. After looking closer at the scraggliness, I think their problem wasn't lacking soil. I think they had trouble taking root. Looking back on it, this was the tray that I put the candle on. The other tray, I put 2 cups of water in an old salsa jar, and that was a little bit heavier than the candle. I think the candle was too light and wasn't pressing the seeds enough into the soil for them to take root. I'm calling this test a failure, but I don't want to say I didn't learn anything. I learned when running an experiment to make sure you're only changing one variable, or you might not know why the result is different. It's a hunch, but I'll also say I learned that the weight is important for getting the roots to take hold. Let me know in the comments if you think this is a valid conclusion, or if this has happened to you. So for that second batch that looked really good, that's the tray that I had 16 cups of soil in it, and I used a salsa container with 2 cups of water as the weight. After 8 days from seeding, the greens were ready to harvest. The first tray I tried harvesting flat, but I found it hard to grab the greens in this orientation and then cut them out without getting soil on them. For the second tray, I positioned the tray at an angle, and then I worked my way from the top down. I used a clean blade on my utility knife and cut just above the soil line. Try and do your best to avoid getting dirt on the greens. There can be E. coli or other germs in the dirt, and you don't want that getting in your food. This tray had way more greens than I expected or needed. I had to get more Tupperware, and I had plenty to give to my friends. I want to say before you start growing microgreens, you should go to the store and just buy like a $5 pack of them and try them just to see if you actually will like them or not. I think I was surprised at the taste. The radish ones are pretty good, but I think I find it hard to incorporate them into what I make. So I recommend you go out to the store and buy some before you buy like $100 worth of equipment for growing your own. I know they're really good for throwing into salads. For me, I don't make too many salads, but I did end up throwing them on this sandwich and it was really good. Excellent. I hope this video inspired you to grow your own microgreens or not. I honestly don't care. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching me in this process, and I'll have more videos to come kind of showing what works and what doesn't. Thanks.